From Procter & Gamble, maker of Nervive. Nervive Nerve Relief is designed to reduce occasional nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort in hands or feet due to aging. Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And from the listeners who support this NPR station.
This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Michelle Martin.
And I'm Steve Inskeep. Good morning. Former President Donald Trump won decisively in last night's Iowa caucuses. Gary Leffler is a precinct captain who was supporting the former president.
The people are just really more energized than I've ever seen them. And I was there at 16 and 20, and they are more organized, they're more dedicated, they're more enthused.
Trump's 30% margin of victory was a new record for a contested Republican Iowa caucus. It left Florida Governor Ron DeSantis a distant second, with former South Carolina Governor and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley right at his heels. Iowans Elliot and Diana Atkins say they like Haley's approach.
I think she makes a lot of sense with the issues that are important to me. The economy is a big one. Inflation is huge. I think the border crisis is a big issue to me also, and I like her stand on that, what she's planning on doing.
I really like that she has experience with world issues.
Haley is a former United Nations ambassador. She served in the Trump administration. Austin Harris is an Iowa state lawmaker who says he voted for Trump twice, but now supports Haley and thinks, quote, she might be able to unite our country.
I got nothing against the other candidates in the race, but none of our policies matter if we don't win the general election. I think she's our best shot at doing that.
With the Iowa caucuses in the rearview mirror, third-place finisher Nikki Haley still says the country wants a change, and she hopes to be that change.
You know what I'm talking about. It's both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. They have more in common than you think. 70% of Americans don't want another Trump-Biden rematch.
The former South Carolina governor was edged out of second place by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in Iowa, but as you have probably heard by now, Trump won the contest with just over 50% of the vote. Kristen Kakowski is an advisor to Nikki Haley's Super PAC, and we called her for her take on last night's results. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
So realistically, what is Nikki Haley's path now? Here's why I say that. The primary process is very front-loaded and increasingly winner-take-all or winner-take-most, talking about the delegates here. So realistically, how does Nikki Haley not hit a wall pretty soon?
Well, I would say, honestly, what happened last night was what we had been told was going to happen for months. So I don't know that anything really changed last night. I think if you had said that Nikki Haley was going to essentially tie Ron DeSantis, a couple months, or even a couple of weeks ago, I think people would have laughed. So I think Nikki did a good, I think that she, as always, was planning to go to New Hampshire, which is a different state than Iowa. For your listeners, New Hampshire voters are much different than Iowa voters, and they are much more likely to support a Nikki Haley candidacy. So her numbers in New Hampshire have been really very strong, and she's been closing that gap with Donald Trump. New Hampshire once was a state that really carried and nudged Donald Trump over the cliff in 2016, but this year it is much different. So our path is, hard pivot right now to New Hampshire, and then obviously she was governor of South Carolina, so that is the next state, and then there's Michigan, and then a flurry of states on Super Tuesday. So I think it actually looks pretty good for Nikki.
All right, so let's jump ahead to Super Tuesday. More than a month away, Ron DeSantis already headed for South Carolina this week, but the former president is out polling Nikki Haley in her own home state. How do you explain that?
Well, so an incumbent president, right? It's a little bit of an unprecedented situation that I think we can't gloss over. He's running as an incumbent president. He was already in the White House for 4 years. He predicted a 60-point margin in Iowa and got just over 50. So that means 50% of the GOP is looking for somebody other than Donald Trump. So that means that if he really has some questions that he needs to answer, if the GOP, if half of the party is still not with him.
Okay. I understand that, but then you've got 16 other states and territories at stake on Super Tuesday. How does she manage that? I mean, she did a big spend in Iowa and New Hampshire. I take your point on her appeal to what she sees as the independent voters in New Hampshire. But then after that, it would seem to me moving solidly into Trump territory, particularly in the South. So how does that help her?
Well, I don't know about that so much. You have a lot of different states interviews. Several states in the Midwest, Michigan being one of them, right before Super Tuesday. You also have states like Minnesota, California. So you do have some southern states, but you also have some Midwestern and Western states that are going to pop up here. So I do think that, a strong finish in New Hampshire, which is what the focus is for the next week, and then obviously for an entire month, all we'll be doing is talking about South Carolina. So
Okay.
get ready.
I do have to
But
clarify that President Trump is not an incumbent. I just have to be really clear about that. I think most people know that.
Understood. He's acting as an incumbent.
He's acting as an incumbent. You think he has incumbent advantages. Okay, let's go to our senior White House correspondent, Tamara Keith, who's here to talk. But I still want to go sort of talk